Hello, welcome to Cloud Advisor's first online tutorial on our YouTube channel. Here I'm going to go through the new HTML5 Fling from VMware. First we'll go through the installation, and then I'll go through some of the new features that you can find. Okay, first of all you need to download the Fling. The address is here, but I will also put it below. When you get to this page, it's just a normal Fling page. We can click on the agree to download the Fling, and the Fling begins to download. Once the Fling is downloaded, it is an OVA file, and we can continue with our next stage. Okay, we've downloaded the OVA file. We are now going to deploy it in our lab environment. This is just a small test lab environment I've set up just for today's demo. Okay, here we go. Deploy an OVF template. It's a local file. We'll browse to our local download. Here. Okay, and here's the file, h5ng. You see, it's just a standard OVA file. Next. As I see, this is a very simple process. It's more or less click through, accept the license, next. Here you decide where you're going to install it. Everything verifies. Shared storage, thin provision. Default network, and finish. I won't power on straight away after deployment. Okay, now we just wait for this thing to deploy, and I won't make you wait with me, so I have a little pause. While we're waiting for the OVA file to install, here is a very useful document that VMware supplies from the same page where you download the Fling. It's the step-by-step instructions for how to set up the new HTML web client. You don't have to do very much, but the most important step is the setting up of your old vCenter server appliance to work with the new HTML5 appliance. You need to enable the shell and go in as bash root on your vCenter server. You can either do this through SSH or, as I'm going to do it, through the console interface. And we'll do that shortly after the OVA has deployed. Okay, first of all we have to enable the shell and SSH. So let's show you how to do SSH first. So this is our web console for our vCenter server appliance. F2. And simply we go to the troubleshooting mode options and enable bash shell, and SSH is already enabled. So we are now in a state where we are ready to work with the OVA template. But first I'm just going to use SSH with PuTTY to log into the web client. Sorry, not the web client, the vCenter server. So here we go. Okay, so you can see the shell is ready, so we should be going straight into My bad. In case you're wondering where I get these from, they are all included in the PDF which you download with the instructions of what to do before you can install your HTML web client. So here's the PDF. You see it's just what we've entered now. Okay, everything is set, everything is ready. I'm now going to start up the OVA. Once this is powered on, it will give us an IP address access to the new HTML web client setup pages. As soon as it's booted and we have access, I will continue. Okay, you can see that the OVA is now installed and booted. The first thing you have to do is configure the network. Okay, so we log in. The default login is given in the PDF as well. The username is root and the password is dmova, D-E-M-O-V-A. So let's go. Okay, so I'm just going to work through the setting up the network. If you had a domain controller installed in your environment, this would be a lot easier. It will already have a IP address. Okay, thank you. Okay, the network is now correctly set up, and if you look at the appliance itself, it gives you a web address which gives you some basic management. This is what you get if you go to the address, log in, same root, and dmover. And here you can set your time zone. You can do a bit more with your network. You can modify address, your DNS servers. For instance, you can put in your static address. Save the settings. You can also enable automatic updates and schedule installation time. And that's pretty much all you can do from here. So if we log out of there, we'll come back to a web interface later. But first, if we look at the PDF, we continue with our next stage of the install, and that is to set up an SSR to this new OVA installation, our new appliance, and set it up. Here we go. We open up PuTTY. And we put in the address of our new appliance. Trust the certificate. And log in again as root. Takes a little while, this bit. Okay, password, dmover. And there we are, we logged in. Okay. We are now installing or running this thing here, which connects it to our existing vCenter server. So this last IP address is just the IP address of your vCenter server. If we enter this, yes. By the way, just a Y doesn't work, you have to type in yes. It's now going to attempt to link to your vCenter server appliance. and it needs the password of your vCenter server appliance. That's not the vCenter server front end. So it would be root and whatever you set it as. Okay, it's looking good. This is a one-time setup. Once you've done this, you should no longer have to work with this backend. I'll pause the video. Okay, you can see now that it's completed. It takes quite a while, that's why I paused the video. I don't want to bore you as it runs through. But one thing that's worth pointing out is here at the end. If you had not done the previous steps, setting up Bash and the shell on the vCenter server appliance, then you would have problems here where it times out. 134 seconds is good, but if it takes longer than, I think, 300 seconds, the whole process will stop. Finito. If you get that problem, my tip is to go back to your vCenter server appliance and try enabling the shell and Bash again. Because, for instance, if you'd restarted your vCenter server, it can switch that back. Okay, so in our case, it has been successful. So, what's the next stage? Well, you can close this SSH putty system. We can also close this, we don't need it anymore. If you look at the PDF for installation instructions, you get an address to go to once you got to this stage. So, with further ado, let's go to this address. And here you see it's the IP address of your appliance and port 9443/UI. If everything's working correctly, you should get something like this. Your connection's not secure. Yeah, we know. Confirm. And fingers crossed. Ooh. Okay, this appears to be a known error according to the PDF startup site. So here's the installation guide. HTTP status 400, blah blah blah. We have to restart the vSphere client, and with a bit of luck, that will give us some joy. So I've entered the instructions. Waiting for the vServer client web server to start up again. Fingers crossed. Okay, after a lot of troubleshooting, which you've been kindly released from because this is a video, this HTTP status 400 error. I've followed the instructions here, nothing helped. This file that is supposed to be here was there. It is a binary file, it contained a few kilobytes. Wasn't a problem. I restarted the client as many times as possible. I even redeployed the OVA a couple of times. After digging down into this, I found out that the only way that I can successfully install this OVA is if I go directly to the ESXi server itself using the vSphere C# client, the thick client. I don't know why, but if I deploy it in this environment directly, everything seems to work. It even starts up quicker, 98 seconds. So, we are now at the stage that I hoped to be before we had that little hiccup. So here we are. We have a HTML5 web client. It's brilliant, at long last. Something that's not Flash based. So this is only a beta though, so there isn't all the functionality that you would expect from a web client. but it's a good starting point. It's a very similar interface, but we have everything popping up very quickly. It's wonderful. Right, let's see what we can do. Let's add. Oh, there aren't many actions you've got. So adding a host doesn't seem to be possible at this time. I was hoping to show that off. No. So adding hosts to your cluster isn't a possibility, but you can create new clusters. So brilliant now, very quickly. Cool. Can I create? No, I can't do data centers, only clusters. And I can't add any hosts to a cluster, but I can delete a cluster, so that's something. Okay, so we got a cluster, we got the host contained on it. We can manage alarm definitions. We can monitor health. Okay. Get a list of your VMs. Data stores there, they're all there. Networking's there. Okay. Can I add a data store? Nope. Okay. So as you can see, you haven't got anywhere near the control that you did with your web client, but this is a starting point. It's important to note, up here, you've got a little smiley face. It's very important for VMware to get feedback, so if there's functionality missing, if there's a bug that you come across, if there's anything you'd like to be improved, put it in here. You can even add screenshots. Okay, we do have some actions that you can perform on hosts. You can enter maintenance mode, you can disconnect and connect, and you can reboot them, as well as creating a new virtual machine. And if you look at the creation process of a new machine, for instance, look how quick that was. Everything is instant. It's very smooth. So there's a lot of potential once this gets up to speed. One thing that's worth noting is, just like the existing web client, the status of machines, it isn't necessarily now, it's not active. So that's running, it takes a few seconds to update, whereas the thick client, the old client, this gives you a live status. If a machine is on, it's got a green sign on it. If it's off, there is no green sign. This is not 100% up to date. It seems to be a little better than the Flash-based client, but it still needs refreshing. It still needs this magic button up here. And looking at the machine we just created, you can edit the settings. Again, it's very smooth. You've got lots of control. It's running, so it can't change the memory. What else? We've got the power options. We can power it off. You see, it reacted quite quickly there. You can migrate them, clone them. So you have got a fair number of the options for virtual machines. It's mainly, it seems to be at anything above cluster level you start to lose most functionality. Okay, monitoring, I was hoping that there would be something to show for these. Performance. Here we go. So yeah, performance graphs are there and quick. It's definite improvement with HTML5 over Flash. You lose that delay. It's fantastic. Anyway, I hope this has helped you with your installations of the new HTML5 client, and I wish you luck testing it out. Thank you for listening, and please come back to Cloud Advisors in the future.